Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Marvel's Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. Season 6, Episode 6. It's called Inescapable. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And also, before we move on, this series of S.h.i.e.L.D. reviews is sponsored by one of our patrons, sponsored by Tim Neal. So, thank you to him. So, without further ado, this was fantastic and the best episode of the season so far, and it's in maybe top 5 of the show of all time.
Yeah.
I'll just say that, I'll just get that out of the way before we get into everything else, because it was fantastic.
Luckily, I'm right there with you.
Here's the thing. I don't know what it is, but for some reason, whenever there's an episode focused on Fitzsimmons, or even just Fitz or Simmons, but especially when it's Fitzsimmons,
it's top tier.
Yeah, that's when the show is like a 10 out of 10. And
yeah.
Like, I've been really enjoying this season. I think it's done a really great thing. I love Code Yellow. It's probably my favourite other, before this one.
It's not even close to this.
Yeah, which by the way, Deke, has been in one episode of 6. Just to keep it track. I know, it's not enough.
Although, we got something exciting coming up.
Oh, we do. There is a mention of Deke at the end of this episode, which was... Here's the thing. Here's why this episode is so freaking good. Because it has emotional beats that almost got me to tears. But it was also making me laugh constantly.
At the same time.
Almost at the same time in some cases, you're right. Absolutely. It does this really neat thing where it's kind of the in the head episode. I'm going to... There'll be a couple of references to the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer in this.
No, there won't. For
different reasons.
Do not demean this episode like that.
It's very restless, first of all. That's the first thing I'm going to say, which was an episode from season 4 of Buffy. The other thing was, not to skip ahead, but there was a moment later on in the episode when Fitz and Simmons are like she's realizing that the evil Fitz, from season, the framework Fitz, right? Nazi Fitz.
Leopold.
Right. She calls him Leopold. That's what I was building up to. She calls him Leopold. That is very Angel and Angelus. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. It is.
I don't think it is.
It is. It's the exact goddamn same. It is Spike and William the Bloody. It's Angel and Angelus. It is. And that is exactly what that is. There was something else they said at one point as well, which actually made me think. It was like a line of dialogue that was almost right out of Buffy.
Sorry, I got a spider crawling on my leg. That bastard.
You're so English. Anyway.
I've never related more.
He said it twice in this episode as well.
She hit back with it. Oh, that's so Scottish.
I laughed so hard the first time I said that, but no, it was making me laugh so much, and because it started off and it was kind of like sweet, and it's okay, they're in this prison. I mean, it was quite clear, I think, from the viewer's perspective, that it was like not a real world. It was like in their heads kind of thing.
The way things were just appearing.
Yeah, it was just that kind of vibe. It takes them a little bit longer to figure that out, but he does the proposal. Sorry.
Not too much longer though. Not long enough that it's frustrating.
No. It's as soon as they get to the bedroom, Fitz figures it out. But like, there's a little bit in the white room first.
Yeah.
And there's this great moment where he like goes to propose, and it's the exact same speech he gave last season.
And she's just trying not to grin because she's like, okay, go on.
And she actually like finishes the line, at the end of it. We're whatever the last say was, we're
unstoppable.
We're unstoppable together. Yeah, so whatever it was. And it was kind of a sweet moment, and she's kind of tearing up, and I'm like, man, like I actually almost thought they were going to do the joke there and then where he looks down and sees a wedding ring on her, and be like, wait a minute, is that a wedding ring? And then that would be how, and obviously it takes longer to get there through the episode, but I was already expecting that. But the first big laugh though is when he's starting to ask about things. The monolith's there. He's like, because this is the way it works on here, is that if they think of something, whether it be an object or a memory, it'll kind of happen and play out. So we get this episode that's both like doing flashbacks, but at the same time they can finish the flashback and then immediately start talking to each other in present like tense about the fact that this is a flashback, which is, it's a really neat little mechanic.
It's interesting, yeah.
But it's when Simmons turns into like 7-year-old Simmons.
7.5.
7.5, yes. Fitz turns round, he gives out this squeak when he sees her. He's like, oh! Eat! I'll try to replicate it, damn it. Can't do it.
You won't, you'll never manage it. We'll be here all night.
It's so good. It's just, and right from this point on, it was like, it never stopped being hilarious. They're in the bedroom, and she's like demanding that they read the book, right? And even, I mean, the funny bit's really coming up, but even before that, she just starts yelling, Dad, there's a weird man in my room who wants to take me away. He's like, all right, shh. fine, I'll read your book. Right, but then he's like, and it's kind of telling the story. And I thought, oh, maybe this is how they're going to like tell Fitz what happened to Paradox Fitz, right? And then he closes the book, and it's the same cover as the the evil book from season 4. Yeah, it was 4 because Ghost Rider was involved.
Yeah,
and he thought, that's a bad book. It's badly written. Oh, they were both cracking me up so much.
And then back to the White Room.
Back to the White Room, and the way he turns her back. Because you knew it was coming because the camera had her out of frame, so you knew when she came back into frame, it was going to be adult
Honestly,
Simmons
even before
again.
you get to that, one of the things that I laughed at the most was they go back into the White Room and Chromacon's there going, "Come on, then, what are you playing at?" And Fitz is like, "She's 7," and she goes, "Oh, and a half," and he just turns and does the
shush, yeah. And then he's yelling at her about playing with the chemicals. He's like, "This is like TNT, or the precursor to TNT.
He's like, what the hell are you doing?
Stop it right now."
The only thing you'll do is blow a hole in the side of your head.
All this was delightful, but so he's trying to think about how to provoke her into being adult Simmons again. He's like, "Oh man, I can think of anything I want," and he doesn't say it yet, but he's like, "What could I conjure?" And I'm like, I knew where he was going. I knew exactly. And he's like, "What about an LMD? Maybe I could get Ada." And the camera just comes back to Simmons, and it's her fully grown, and she's like, "Shut up, Fitz!" Like, get that psychotic robot ex-girlfriend. It was so good. And this episode, the only funny thing is that we've talked so much about the comedy up until this point, and even though it's been quite genuine, is that everything they're bringing up is their past. This episode is like a love letter. It's a love letter to their entire story, but while also advancing it by like having them deal with their issues, and it neatly solves Fitz learning almost everything that happened to other Fitz before he died. Like learning that he died first of all, but learning that he went to the future and came back. Learning, obviously the joke at the end about you've got a grandson, and then you get hear his reaction finish, but like, and then everything in between, but not only that, the fact that. I think there was a worry almost that it could have been tedious, him having to slowly learn all these different things. And I think what they did here was they did it in a condensed form. It was immensely entertaining and emotional for every single plot beat that was relevant he had to learn. Every single one felt like a good moment. It didn't feel like, he has to learn this, so we're going to have to go through it.
It's mildly terrifying because when it all starts and it's a lot at once and he starts muttering to himself, you're like, oh shit, we've seen this psychotic break happen before already.
And that's the other thing. They deal with the fact that this is a Fitz before he had his psychotic break, and he's still, because Gemma just flat out says, "I know you hear him," and we deal with it, and we go down that path. We go down the path of this handles the fact that he's now over that. By the end of the episode, he's over evil Fitz. He's accepted everything. I mean, I'm sure he'll crack some jokes or still in future episodes, but he's learned everything. The emotional brunt of it, pardon me, he's went through, and that's really good. Like. It's really exceptionally done, but it's also all these emotional beats with Simmons, and it's after this where Max shows up, and it's like Simmons' memories, because he's questioning her, make her think of a scene that we didn't see last season. It was because we have the uplifting scene at the end of the finale last year where it was like, okay, gun ho, we're going to go get Fitz, right? And that was kind of the big moment that made it put us in a good mood. But this was the sad scene where the body first kind of came back to the base, and Mac didn't really believe that there was a Fitz out there. He had a hard time believing that there was some Fitz to go and rescue. But Simmons believed it. And this is the genius of this scene, is that we get real Coulson. We get a scene with real Coulson before he died. And like him coming in, even though he's sick and he can barely walk, and he goes up and he sees him, and he comes over to Simmons and says, "You believe he's out there? We'll get to work." And that was like the first part of the episode where I was almost tearing up. I was like, this is actually kind of touching. Like Coulson believes. He believes it, damn it.
Of course he does. And then we see, the start of their relationship with Coulson.
We do. Although I think you're skipping. I think it was the bedroom stuff first. I want to say.
It might be. You might be right.
I think it's the bedroom stuff first. Because I think it's after, because the bedroom stuff, and then that's when evil Leopold's sauntering about.
The order's a little hazy in my head already because they're kind of just jumping around.
Yeah, it is going around like mad. But yeah, later on, because the Coulson scenes definitely weren't back to back. I think it was the bedroom scene first in college where he invites her over to help with like a science project. And we get this really funny exchange where they're both like, well, whose memory is this? Well, it's both of us. We were both here. And they're like, oh, I remember this is the night I stopped feeling nervous around you. And she's like, oh, yeah, I remember this is the night I friend zoned you. Which is very funny in hindsight. But like, we have these things, and it's kind of this not the beginning of the relationship, but very early on. This is early days. Like he says, when he still felt uncomfortable with her, and they get in this place, and this is when like we bring up Evil Fitz, and that's when we get the reveal, and he comes sauntering down the hallways in his suit, looking evil, and the acting from these two actors is what makes this sing so beautifully.
They've always been great throughout the show, but when you have moments like this is when they kind of show their range.
We've not even gotten to the big acting moment yet. Like that comes later. But they've had so many good moments, but no, the scene like going back to the Coulson scene is before that. This is where he finds out that they married each other, and he wasn't around for it. He says the phrase "I missed my wedding."
And she's like, no, you just haven't had yours yet.
Yeah, but she already has, and there's going to be a part from him. I was like, well, you already had this the first time. Well, this is second time for you. It's not special.
Yeah,
that's always going to kind of be there.
This is the same with all the friends watching. They already saw this.
Yeah. But they all, it's a really great scene for that, and it plays with all these things. He learns so much. We get a lot of emotional beats that we missed out on, but we also get him working through it all. It's doing so many things in so many levels that's super impressive.
Yeah.
Evil thingy. I think before we even get to Coulson, I think we might end up back in the bedroom first. I think that might be when we get
the box.
Evil Simmons, who. So this was, I was loving this, but at this point in the episode, it won me over. Like I knew I was watching one of the best episodes of the show, right?
By halfway through, you knew.
Yeah, and and she mentioned this box earlier. It was a box that her father or parents told her to like box her feelings up, and this is what led to him saying, "Oh, you're so English." Like afterwards.
He's right. That is so English.
It is so English, yeah. Bloody typical. But he, so this, and I actually I couldn't even tell it was Simmons until later. Like, it wasn't until I got a good shot of her face later that I knew it was actually her, playing this role.
It just looked, I mean...
So much makeup.
I mean, it Fitz says, did you have to make it into the Ringu monster?
Props for saying Ringu, Fitz. Props for saying it the proper way. I approve.
Of course he would.
I
Fitz
approve.
Would.
I laugh so much later when when he says to her, if you made the framework, it'd have been like Night of the Living Dead. Which, by the way, I'm fairly certain that this Simmons is actually also Framework Simmons, because if you remember correctly, Framework Simmons died. I think this is actually Zombie Simmons from the Framework.
A little bit of a stretch, I think, maybe.
I don't know. I'm going with it. I'll go with it. Well, it really matters. Sure. But this was just like them yelling at each other in the closet, Halloween style. As the knife, the bone saw is coming through the blinds. It's so good. And then I think we have the Coulson scene where they end up at their first, after they run around the base a little bit, because there's a moment where Fitz is like, where are we? And she's like, oh, this is the new headquarters for S.h.i.e.L.D. Is it? Oh,
very fancy.
Yeah, and then he, we get to the Coulson scene where he's recruiting them. And it's the young. They did a good job with Fitz's hair, especially. I thought here, it really made him look young, having that
kind of short curly.
That curly stuff on top. It really made him feel young.
It does. Yeah.
And Coulson offers him the job, and Fitz and Simmons are bickering during the scene, and it's all very good. And kind of the point of all these flashbacks in a lot of ways is to show how they've always kind of been there to propel each other, or as they put it later, save each other.
Save each other. Yeah.
But so they get separated. Evil Fitz is chasing Simmons and captures her and is going to wipe her mind. Evil Simmons gets Fitz, has him tied upside down, cuts out his heart, and is like, "You said this belonged to me."
She's terrifying.
Oh, there's so many. I want to watch this episode like 5 more times before I even talk about all the jokes, because there's so many little moments.
They're constant, aren't they?
Yeah, they were so hilarious together. And then we have this nice big moment where they realize that, we can call upon our friends in here, and we get like Mac and Simmons showing up to save them. Not Simmons, sorry,
Daisy.
Sky, yeah. Which, by the way, the picture book had Fox Sky. It was like it was like her suit and a fox.
Yeah.
I want to point that out.
Why not?
I'll take that animated series.
Bet you would.
I mean, I've compared it to Buffy Angel a few times. I feel like we could get away with a Muppet episode on this show where Sky's a fox. I'm just saying. We could get away with it.
It's got a lot to live up to after the Legends puppet episode.
The Angel one was better than the Legends one, though.
Oh, piss off.
It was! Come on! Come on! Spike walking in and saying Angel, and he's like, don't say it! He's like, you're a puppet! That's great. That's a great scene.
It was great. The Legends one was better.
What was it? Yes. So they get split up, but they realize they can get saved by their friends who show up, and they're doing their kicking and flipping and. There's a joke at one point.
Guy is Mac just punches it a few times.
Yeah, although Mac's fate's not that great because we find out there's a joke one point where when they go into the containment cell, the white containment cell that's on the ship, Fitz at one point says, "Yeah, your evil self's out there eating Mac's head," and then Simmons looks out the window and goes, "Ugh."
Yeah.
So
you know what I loved as soon as they went to that containment cell, and you because obviously that was one of their first big memorable moments.
Oh, they brought up everything. Fitz brought up the astronaut she fell in love with on the desert planet, which also another fantastic episode.
That was for the best episode of the show up till that point.
Yeah, and like. Her being like, look, I was alone on a desert planet. I got lonely. I didn't build a robot girlfriend. He's like, that's stretching the truth. Because in his defense, it was never intended to be a girlfriend.
No, it wasn't.
In his defense. But although the framework did go a bit. I
think one of my favorite lines of this, I can't remember the exact context of what it was, but he just yells out, your evil self out there stabbed me in the heart with a bone knife.
Yeah.
Just, killed me.
Everything they were yelling in this scene, and at one point, like, I saved you, every time, because he brings up like, oh, you kind of abandoned me when I had brain damage, back in season 2, and she feels genuinely quite guilty about that. And then it's like, and then you get sucked into the stupid thing, and then he, it's like listing everything.
And this is where it's getting to that point where it's starting to get emotional, right? When they're starting to get up at each other.
And at one point,
it's also still quite funny with the things they're throwing out at each other.
And at one point, one of them, I think it's Simmons, mentions, and we were drowned at the bottom of the ocean, and then the water starts spraying.
And he's like, you just had to mention it.
You just had to bring up the water. And it actually, there's a great moment in the outside here where evil Fitz and Simmons are like sort of circling the pod, and there's a point where they sort of like make eye contact and just sort of like, you're weird, and then just kind of like walk back around the opposite way.
No, Leopold says something, he's like, don't you get in my way. Like that.
That's right, he does. But there's this sort of stare first, but they're just kind of like, you're weirdo.
Not gonna lie, that was the moment where I knew exactly where it was going with them.
There was a really good joke at the end of this because they eventually shout "I love you" to each other, and
everything kind of stops. The water all stops, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. They kind of had the catharsis. They've kind of got out what they need to get out, and they've kind of accepted each other's like dark sides and everything they've been through together and away from each other even. And they go outside, and evil Fitz and Simmons are getting it on right in front of them. They're just kissing at first, but then they go down and they go off camera. And there's a great joke where Simmons is like, or Fitz is like, I didn't know you liked that, and she's like, I didn't know you could do that. And then they kind of like just go. They end up back in the White Room, and Atara, which I remember because it's Atari with an A at the end, she shows up and she's like giving him the spiel, and he's like, no, we can't do this, it's too dangerous to mess with time travel, because he considers it at one point, maybe we should try and save the planet. Yeah,
he talks about how, if we're feeling like this and it's just us two, imagine if it was a whole planet.
Yeah. But honestly, they realise that there's too many problems that happen, and arguably everything that happens, even what happens to Chronicon, might be a result of them messing with time last season.
Potentially, yeah.
So they don't want to do that, and this is the moment where a tower just falls down. They wake up, and I was like, Enoch's saved the day, and all the other Chronicons are all knocked out, and Enoch's just standing there with a big gun, and I'm like, yes, Enoch. Which leads to one of my favorite lines of the episode, where he throws that like portal thing in the floor, and he just goes, "Embrace me," and they both bring it in for a hug.
I think because there's a couple of times throughout the episode where it cuts back to them on the outside world. One of my favorite ones is where Enoch says to Atara that, if Fitz were here, he'd call you the absolute worst. And then it cuts into it, and it's Fitz yelling at 7-year-old Simmons, calling her the worst.
Yeah, with a lot more adjectives though.
There was, yeah, but it just like that was a great cut.
That was pretty good. No, that was good. And Simmons gives him his wedding ring. So here's the wedding ring because you died wearing it. Here.
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, you're a grandfather.
Yeah, and he's cut off, and he's like, "Wait, how could that?" Cut.
Oh, they're meeting for him for the first time.
I know. We get to have Fitz meeting Deke.
Glorious.
We get to have Fitz meeting Deke for the first time. That is gold. It's so good. This episode was non-stop hilarious, but it was non-stop hilarity that was built from character building. Like, it was character advancement through the comedy. The comedy was used as a device to advance their plots, and that is really impressive. And it was constantly doing that. It got emotional several times. Them yelling at each other was emotional. The Coulson, the sick Coulson, being genuine was a great moment. And and even her having to tell Fitz that, hey, he kind of died too, and there's no getting him back. He's gone. Although, of course, she doesn't know about Fate or Sarge running around.
No, not yet. No.
So yeah, how many characters in the show have got to play like doppelgangers of themselves at this point in some way?
Well, obviously, Fitz did a big one. Coulson.
Simmons did this episode. Coulson's done it now.
Briefly, this episode, Simmons. Yeah.
That still counts. Briefly, it's fine.
Yeah. Well, I mean, not in the same way the others have got to, really go at it.
That still counts. Anyway, so no, that was really good. And then the post scene, which also it was a solid little scene, but it also ended up having like a huge laugh at the end of it. It was just like, just in case you thought only Fitz and Simmons can bring the comedy, we're going to make sure that we wow you here in this final scene.
Yeah.
Because we finally come back to Earth, and we get Mac's reaction to seeing that there's a Fitz alive. Fitz and Enoch. He's looking at the tablet,
and he's like, "Oh, he's okay." And
he's like, "Turbo." He's
He's not really okay. He's in prison. He's like, he's with Simmons. I'll be fine.
They actually connect something here that maybe we could have figured this out before, but they outright say, no. Sarge and his goons, this is what happened to Chronicon. This is what happened to that planet.
Yeah, I think I could tell earlier in the episode when we got a glimpse of it.
Sure.
When Atara, she blew it up.
We see the planet. Yeah, we see the.
I was like, okay, I get where they've gone with that.
Which is nice because it connects, because the two plots that felt very separate. Fitz save our planet. Now that's that's actually directly connected to the Sarge stuff, which is nice. Yeah. But yeah, he has this thing where he's like, yeah, what killed Chronicon? They didn't just kill the planet; they decimated it. And the people that did that, dramatic pause, music swelling up, and before he can say it, Sky just goes, "Oh, they're here, right?" And he's like,
I like how he even gets the "there" out.
Yeah,
he's going, "They're here," but he goes "there," and she goes, "Oh, they're here."
And he's like, kind of took my moment there, but yeah. And there's just another pause, and she's like, "Okay." And then it cuts the credits.
Yeah, she's like, "All right."
Oh, that was such a good beat.
It was.
Joe was so good about that moment is that it did feel like a dramatic scene that wasn't going to have any comedy in it, which was fine. But
it was a little bit frustrating as a dramatic scene because it was all information we already knew, really, other than the
which is why the joke works so well, because it's Sky undercutting them saying, "Yeah, I figured it out. They're here. We get it."
Yeah. We're already on her side there. We got it. We're fine.
That's the joke. It's really
But so until that, I was feeling like this has got to have something.
Yeah, but that's why it works so well, because it's based on what we are thinking as the audience.
Yeah,
and that's the beauty of it. And it's just I was impressed. I was because I was thinking, before they brought up Evil Fitz, I thought, well, we're still going to have that to deal with after this episode. We'll deal with him finding out a lot of stuff, but maybe the one thing she'll hold back is Evil Fitz, and the idea that he kind of had a breakdown.
I think it's going to be interesting because still, when Sky sees him, she's still going to react.
Yeah, I wonder if we see some genuine, because he's worked out things in a different way this time, because he's had this therapy almost of going through this. Is it clear to her immediately that this is Fitz who's a healthier Fitz? Is this
maybe?
A different
I think
Fitz?
there'll still be at least. I'll be upset if there's not at least a moment of apprehension at first. There has to be just a moment where she's not sure.
I don't think I'm open to apprehension at first. I like the idea of having a moment later where he does kind of find out that he did something bad to Sky, and she kind of they have like a bury in the hatchet thing where they kind of talk about it, or just like even just like a simple exchange of like understanding or something like that. But I don't necessarily. I'm not going to put an ultimatum and say I need apprehension as soon as she sees him.
No, I think I would not necessarily right at the second she sees him. She can be relieved first, sure. That he's here, he's back. But I definitely do want some moment from her because that was such a big deal for her. And
they'll probably do it. This show's really good at picking up these threads. Like,
it is. Yeah.
I have faith in it to do what it needs to do. I just don't like putting ultimatums of that on shows because you do it all the time.
Well, then
you do. There's so many times where you'll say, "Oh, they better do this," or "I'm going to be mad," or.
And on this one, I will be because I genuinely feel like that's such an important beat from her character that I will feel like it is seriously lacking if it's not there.
What I am saying to you is that this show surprises me so often that I would never give it an ultimatum, because often when I expect something, they will subvert it and do whatever they'll achieve whatever effect I wanted in a way that I would never have predicted. So what I'm saying is that giving them an ultimatum and saying do this exact thing is almost like, no, that's not this show's style. This show will get the effect of what you want. That character beat that you want will happen in some way, but it won't necessarily be through a moment of apprehension. It may be something much cleverer than that, or something that you couldn't see coming.
Maybe, but either way, I'll be disappointed if we don't have her have a reaction, because like I said, it was such a traumatic experience that if she doesn't have some sort of reaction, I will be a little bit. It would be surprised that she's not. So, and that would lead and not. It's not a good surprise in that case. So it would be a little upset.
I think it needs to be at the start, though. If there's going to be a moment, I think it could wait until he maybe suggests something that makes her think twice about him. Something that is questionable. I don't think it needs to happen the second she sees him. It doesn't have to be like, oh, can I trust him the second that he's back on Earth kind of thing.
Sure.
Which I assume Fitz and Simmons will be arriving on Earth maybe at the end of the next episode. Because we'll probably not see them
shortly, I would imagine.
We'll probably not see them throughout the episode, and then they'll arrive on Earth later. Assuming they're coming back to Earth. I feel like they probably are now at this point, but I mean, we'll see.
I have no reason to assume otherwise.
Yeah. Unless there's maybe an episode of them having troubles getting back, like they have to steal a ship, and there's maybe
I feel like that is not really worth doing now. I feel like at this point, getting them back and interact with everyone else, given that we've only got 7 more episodes.
Yeah, they probably won't. But again, this show, if it's going to do it, there'll be a reason for what I'm doing it.
No, I'm sure there will be. But Les, if it is, that it'll have to be a good reason, because right now I think that there's not. We went through so much with them on this episode that I'm kind of just right. Okay, get them back with the group now. I don't need to see him traveling through space too much. It
could be Enoch's story, though. Enoch could have some sort of journey
if Enoch has a good story, sure.
Where he's like, I'm turning my back on Chronicon. I have to, he's doing it for his best friend. Embrace him, Fitz. He wants to be embraced.
This needs one scene tops, because most of that was already implicit in the fact that he just betrayed all his people to save him.
Embrace him. He deserves embracement. Embracing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the last one.
Yes. Oh, this is a fantastic episode. Just to reiterate, it worked through so much character stuff, and it did it whilst being both emotional and hilariously funny, and pulled from the entire show's history, and it was really good. And it felt so honest when they started yelling at each other. It didn't feel forced. It didn't feel like
one of those scenes where
bullshit TV writing.
Even though I knew where it was going, like as soon as they started getting angry, I'm like, okay, I can see the outcome of this. It didn't matter.
No, because it feels real. It feels like these characters have earned this fight, and you understand why they're having this fight.
Yeah.
It's just good TV writing, and as far as network shows go, this is like
unparalleled right now.
Right now, yeah, it's unparalleled. And I'll say it. It's right now it's the best comic book TV show. Like Doom Patrol will give it a fight if Doom Patrol comes back, but it's not there yet. I don't think Doom Patrol's reached these heights. Not these emotional heights.
Quite. Not the emotional heights, no.
So
the comedic heights, sure.
Oh, sure, yeah. Doom Patrol's very funny. But that is episode 6 of Agents of S.h.i.e.L.D. So once again, Tim Neal, sponsor, one of our patrons. So thanks to him. You can go to patreon.com/MailFuzzTV yourself and check out what's on offer there. You can support us for as little as $1 per month and get some extras and bonuses and some stuff early. You can also, of course, like, subscribe, let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments. If you listen to the audio feed, the Almost Cancelled TV Review audio feed, you can, of course, rate us on iTunes or whatever podcast app you use. It helps other people find the show. So do that, and otherwise, that is us. Other than maybe promoting some other content, if there's anything you would like to promote.
There's not. I'm just kidding. I just thought it'd be funny. Your face is priceless. We've been working through Star Trek Next Generation recently. We just finished season 1. Feels on topic given all the space travel in this season.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, check that out. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla? You're so English!